'cause we're living with BS&P. Yeah, we're living with BS&P. Oh.
Reboot!
Any more than passing fan of Reboot knows about the production's problems with network censors in the first 2 seasons. The Broadcast Standards and Practices, BS&P, was so concerned about exposing children to unsafe ideas that they held a stranglehold on the Mainframe Entertainment team's creative expression.
It's a dirty job, but someone's gotta do it!
When ABC rejected the show at the end of Season 2,
Treacherous dogs!
Mainframe marketed the show independently, and there was a substantial rise in quality as they were finally freed from BS&P restrictions. They were able to make the villains more villainous, make there be actual consequences to give the conflict a sense of tension, and make the good guys as well as the bad guys sexually attractive, so they weren't giving the message that sex is evil. But something that often gets overlooked is that they were able to inject some shades of gray, and not depend on the color of hats to indicate moral character. The idea of white hats and black hats comes from old westerns, where they would market as much to Spanish speakers as to English speakers. They found that if they just included a visual indication of which the good guys and bad guys were, the Spanish speakers would be fine watching movies in a foreign language. I believe this simplistic storytelling was later enforced by the BS&P out of some fear of children being corrupted by moral ambiguity. When you watch Reboot in the first 2 seasons, you can easily tell the good guys from the bad guys. The good guys all look friendly and have light colors, while the bad guys look predatory and favor dark colors. The only exceptions to this rule are Megabyte's minions Hack and Slash, who are cute in appearance, but they're also completely non-threatening due to their incompetence, and the viewer is able to find their bumbling personalities cute without truly entering the realm of moral ambiguity. In contrast to series like Battlestar Galactica and V, whose premises are based around many enemies being indistinguishable from normal citizens, early Reboot makes every binome's allegiances clear with the color of his or her icon, if not the whole body. If the icon is black and white, the binome is a benign citizen of Mainframe. If the icon is black and green, the binome is a servant of Megabyte. For that matter, the sprites with black and gold are the superhero guardians. This rule makes what would otherwise be the most interesting story of Season 1, Identity Crisis, into a contrived plot with zero room for ambiguity.
Really, Ms. Matrix? There's gonna be children in the audience!
The story has a collection of terrified neutral binomes trusting Dot with their personal identities, which when delivered to Fong, will make their sector allied with Mainframe against Megabyte. But if Megabyte were to somehow intercept the identities, they would all become his slaves. Cyrus, one of the binomes who organized this meeting, clearly has a black and green icon. This is shown to us right in the middle of the screen, black and green, showing us that his loyalties are to Megabyte at the very beginning. When Cyrus grabs Dot's tablet, we know he's done something. When Dot discovers that the identities are gone, we know it was Cyrus. When Dot gets the identities back and indicates to Megabyte that Cyrus helped her, we're just scratching our heads wondering why Megabyte believes that one of his slaves would turn on him, or why Dot would ever trust one in the first place. This is just speculation on my part, but I strongly suspect that Cyrus was always intended to be a neutral black and white icon binome, and that his black and green icon is a late addition imposed by the BS&P. There is no room for moral ambiguity here. The kids have to know that Cyrus is a bad guy from the first time they see him, so they don't get confused about morality or something, even though that concept is a truth of the world that everyone has to deal with. Sometimes the bad guys look like good guys, and the good guys get betrayed. In rejecting that truth, BS&P imposes a cleansed ideal for the world that is so blatantly unrealistic that it is ugly and distasteful. When ABC finally rejected Reboot and they went off on their own, we finally got to see some moral ambiguity. Matrix and Andrea go where no sprite has gone before, and discover a couple of viruses posing as good guys, and they actually do look indistinguishable from the good guys. They have to be detected by their hostile personalities, not what they look like. And then there's Damon. In Season 3, there's a lot of build-up about the horrifying supervirus Damon, who was able to take over the Guardians and impose her will over most of the net. The previous superviruses we'd seen were Megabyte and Hex when they were possessed by the web creature, and they both looked really scary, black and predatory. In Season 4, we finally meet Damon, and she's a soft-spoken young woman who could easily be one of the protagonists.
You're Damon, aren't you?
Yes, Did you expect something else?
Well, actually, yes. I mean, where are the talons and the teeth and the spiky things? You're a little small for a super virus, aren't you?
And as it turns out, the one who defeats Damon and saves the net is Hexadecimal when she looks her scariest. She can't save the world looking like a good guy. Before making her noble sacrifice, she infects the icon of Little Enzo. And despite some worrying from Mike, nothing adverse happens. Little Enzo stays good, and the infection turns out to have been a gift. Finally, there's Megabob. Megabyte returns to Mainframe in the guise of Bob, but this is presented to us as Bob showing up. Megabyte's identity remains a secret for almost 3 episodes, and we're able to fully appreciate Dot's horror at the reveal at almost the worst possible time, because it's just as much as a surprise to us as it is for her. The seasons not marred by BSNP also have some rather fantastic storytelling about things that really matter. Love and friendship matter so much more when there's a real threat, and choices to show mercy to killers matter much more when they can actually kill you. Building on that, Season 4 goes into some serious exploration of whether the ideal of mercy should be upheld in extreme circumstances, like when facing an army trying to enslave you, or when faced with a truly dangerous serial killer like Megabyte. That kind of ambiguity is what the censors cannot stand. Everything has to be black and white, black and green. The good guys have to be instantly identifiable by looking like us, because we would be light-colored, while the bad guys can instantly be detected by their mean looks and coloration. No one ever gets seriously hurt, and the good guys always save the day. In short, the censors are all liars. It's like they think that kids are in the Garden of Eden, and if they introduce ambiguity, it would be like the serpent's influence and make them evil. The world doesn't work like that, though. By virtue of being human, everyone knows evil exists, even in the hearts of good people. Kids need identifiable characters that can help them navigate through life's issues, not these wholesome lies that no one can relate to. Thank the user that Mainframe Entertainment got out of that sanitized trap.